Hey guys, today's video is about Gabbie Hanna and Jessi Smiles. I watched Jessi Smiles' video a few times because I just needed to take notes and stuff, and then watch it the first time without notes just so I can focus. And obviously because of that, the video is coming a little bit late. The video's been out for a few days now. I just wanted to make sure that I had all the information correct and stuff, so that's why. My social media will be in description along with my beauty channel, anything else you might need to find. Also, during this whole Gabbie Hanna debacle, this whole situation, there have been a few commentary guys that are kind of against tea channels, and because we have been going hard on Gabbie Hanna, I guess. And I give people the benefit of the doubt, so I've had private conversations with a few of them, and I know they're very much against the e-girl article situation and how we brought that up. So they said that I spread misinformation because in my original video, the one that was mainly about Jaclyn Hill and stuff, and then the last 3 minutes was Gabbie Hanna, in that I say that the whole article was about the situation, the incident, when it was just a paragraph, like a section of the article was about that. So they're saying that because of that, there was a possibility that Gabbie Hanna could have missed it. Now, they disagree with my whole video. I say I still stand by a lot in that video, and I won't change my mind on that. I stand on the fact that she should have double-checked, triple-checked the article. If you're going to link an article, I mean, it's a good idea to read the whole thing. Of course, it could have been a what word was I going to put in there? It could have been like an accident, a complete complete accident, didn't mean it. But yeah, so I said it was the whole article, and in reality it was just the article, the piece of the article that was on screen. I think that's why I said whole article, is just what was on the screen was about the incident. Now they wanted me to clear that up in today's video because they said look guys, I can clear it up if you want, but I don't think it makes much of a difference to the whole story. They think it does make a difference to the story. I personally don't think it does, but that's just a difference of opinion. The matter of fact is the whole article was not about the incident. It was an article about e-girls, and then one paragraph of that was to do with the incident. Now, personally, me, I don't think it makes much of a difference at this point, but I'm going to bring it up anyway because they're right. If I make a mistake, I should bring it up. So I'm here to clarify that that was a mistake on my part. I think I just misspoke, to be completely honest with you. But still, if it makes a huge difference to you guys, then it was a paragraph in an article, not the whole article. Clarifying that. I'm not going to take the video down. I might either cut out the Gabbie Hanna bit because you can edit, post, upload on YouTube, or I can just turn off monetization on the video. The video makes about 2p a day, and I'm not even exaggerating on that. It makes probably 2 pence a day, but I'm willing to demonetize it. I don't want to take it down completely because the whole video is not about Gabbie Hanna, it's about other stuff as well, and I like to keep stuff up like that. But I might just cut her out, or cut out the part where I say that it's about the whole article. I can just cut out that part because that's the only misinformation in that whole video. The rest is my opinion on what's happening. So, I'm still conflicted on that, but I spoke to them and they said, hey, clarify the misinformation, and I'm here to clarify the misinformation. It wasn't the whole article, it was a section of the article. Now let's get into the Jessi Smiles and Gabbie Hanna stuff because that's what we're here for today. So Gabbie Hanna posted her series, not in full yet. She hasn't updated us since, except for on her Patreon. I'm going to get into that. So the whole series is about her basically clarifying things that she's been accused of doing or any mess ups that she's had, and mainly it's her just putting the blame on other people. But I do understand, if that's what she wants to do, that's what she wants to do. So the rest of the series is, I believe, pre-filmed in March. I've heard that through somewhere. I don't know why that's in the front bit of my brain. I don't know where I heard that, but I heard it was pre-filmed in March. But since then, Jessi Smiles has posted a thread to do with a phone call that she had with Gabbie Hanna to do with the whole Curtis situation. So Gabbie Hanna then films an additional bonus part to her series to do with this phone call. But she says she's got at least, I think, 2 other parts of the series to do with Jessi Smiles. So this is just to do with the phone call. So Gabbie Hanna posts this bit about the phone call, and then she posts in the unlisted link the whole 3-hour unedited conversation. I think she said she edited out a piece of it. That was her own personal story or something like that. In the video, she says a lot of things that Jessi didn't agree with. So Jessi then posts a video that's 1 hour and 20 minutes long, and I think I watched it twice or 3 times, I can't remember now. Anyway, so she said, she put up at the start of the video this montage of all the lies that Gabbie Hanna said, stuff that just didn't add up, stuff that Jessi has proof for that Gabbie Hanna said was something different. I guess you can literally just watch the first minute of Jessi Smiles' video. It's just a montage of things that Gabbie Hanna is saying versus actual proof. Then she talks about the phone call, she plays a little part of it, says that Gabbie Hanna wanted Jessi Smiles to sign an NDA, and Jessi said, fine, I'll sign an NDA and I'll never talk about you again if you sign the NDA too and you never talk about me again. And Gabbie Hanna says that she doesn't want to sign the NDA in case she ever is asked about the situation in interviews. So you're telling me you're allowed to talk about Jessi Smiles in interviews, and that's the reason you're going to sign the NDA, but you expect her to never talk about you again? You do know that right before an interview, you can say, hey, like, these are the topics that are, like, complete out of question, out of bounds. We're not doing these. And, like, they won't ask you about it. So you can literally say, like, out of bounds is Jessi Smells. Don't ask me about it. Okay. Gabbie Hanna, she then also, so she kind of went back, like, way before the phone call. She basically said, like, the whole history between Jessi and Gabbie. So she says that Gabbie Hanna's on multiple occasions called Jessi about Jen Dent. Jen Dent is someone who has been very vocal against Gabbie Hanna, but there was also a lot of accusations from Gabbie Hanna against Jen Dent. I'm going to get into all of those. Jen has been very vocal right now, and she's been vocal throughout Gabbie Hanna's history right now, and she clearly just does not like Gabbie Hanna. She's a fellow Viner, so I guess she's got, like, insider perspective on why she doesn't like Gabbie Hanna. So Gabbie Hanna calls about Jen Dent and says, Jen is talking about me on Twitter. She says that to Jessi, and she says, if you don't make her stop, I'm gonna release these 2 episodes I have full of, like, stuff against you guys. And that was basically a threat. Like, that's kind of blackmail. It's like, she either deletes the tweets or I post this podcast episode exposing you guys. Obviously blackmail is, like, a criminal thing, so I'm gonna say allegedly, but that's just, like, threatening someone with an exposed video. So Gabbie Hanna's fans start spreading rumors, very disgusting rumors about Jen Dent, about her doing something to a child. At the time, Jen Dent was a nurse. They started calling her workplace to get her fired. And in conversations between Jessi and Gabbie Hanna, in, like, messages, Gabbie Hanna says, but did you see the stuff about Jen Dent? It's dark. Like, I remember seeing that on Twitter a while ago, and I didn't know what that was about, but it was about these, like, really BS rumors about Jen Dent. And they are BS because the guy that made up the accusations basically just started, like, trolling on the internet about it. And when they asked him for proof, he was just like, lol, lol, pee pee poo poo, like, basically just had, like, no proof of these allegations. So Jessi says that March is when the series started. So I think I've got that from Jessi's video, or maybe I knew it before. Anyway, so Jessi found out about her pregnancy in March. So Gabbie Hanna was like, I'm filming this series because I have to, like, go against all the stuff that Jessi's saying about me. But Jessi's saying, like, in March, I just found out I was pregnant. Like, the last thing I was doing was talking about you. So this series is really coming out of, like, left field. But Gabbie Hanna said she's making this series because of stuff that's happening in her personal life, and that, like, Jessi's talking about her again. But it's like, no, she's not. She's just found out she was pregnant. She was, like, with her family and stuff. Can we just not? Anyway, Jessi says that every time she spoke about Gabbie Hanna, it's in response to something Gabbie did, whether that's directly or indirectly. So sometimes Gabbie would say, like, Jessi Smells did this. That would be directly mentioning Jessi. Or sometimes she would say, my old friend did this. And it was quite clearly about Jessi. And that's indirectly mentioning Jessi and, like, poking the bear with a stick, but, like, indirectly, where if you don't know the inner workings of their friendship, you wouldn't know it's about Jessi, but if you know, then you know it's about Jessi. I hope I'm making sense. She then mentions Keemstar and how Gabbie Hanna did an interview with Keemstar, knowing that Keemstar back in the day basically said he doesn't believe Jessi on, like, the Curtis situation, and essentially just basically mocked her for it. So Jessi's basically saying, like, how can Gabbie say that she's, like, a good friend and not a R-word apologist when she literally knew that Keemstar did all of that and then still did an interview with him to promote a song that she did for Trisha Paytas that she never asked for. Then we had the BuzzFeed article that I spoke about, which was, like, the worst piece of journalism that I've ever read. And yes, she mentions how Gabbie Hanna said in that BuzzFeed article how it's chaotic that Jessi still hasn't apologized to her. Then Jessi mentions a situation where Gabbie Hanna was releasing music. I don't know why I put this in quotation marks. Releasing music. And Jessi Smells filmed a video at the same time, kind of, like, exposing Gabbie Hanna, and Gabbie was saying how this is all to sabotage her, and Jessi saying, like, yeah, technically, because I still haven't received an apology for your stuff, so I never want to, so you're releasing stuff while also not holding yourself accountable, and I think you need to. Then we mentioned the phone call. So Gabbie Hanna in her video said how Jessi Smells essentially would bring up the R thing with Curtis in order to make herself cry on the phone call, because she knew that they were both recording it and she wanted to use it as some kind of, like, an emotional ploy against the audience. Can you imagine how screwed up that is to say? Like, how effed up that is to say. You brought up one of the most traumatic experiences of your life so that you could force yourself to cry so that people feel bad for you. That's actually Gabbie's words. Like, that's what Gabbie said. Jessi's saying how that's just literally the most, like, crazy thing that she's ever heard. When people cry about traumatic experiences, you're not automatically like, oh, you're doing this for sympathy. Like, you're like, damn, this is, like, a really traumatic thing for you, and I must have really hurt your feelings for you to be, like, crying on a phone call. Anyway, then people are saying, how is Gabbie Hanna, like, an R-word apologist? People are saying, like, she did apologize to Jessi, and Jessi did forgive her for the tweets that she did in the past. So if you guys don't know, Gabbie Hanna, when TMZ broke the story about Jessi Smells and Curtis, Gabbie Hanna started tweeting things like, oh, TMZ's talking about Viners, let me grab my popcorn, and they're basically saying, like, thousands of girls lie about this, like, just stuff like that. Then Jessi and Gabbie meet, and Gabbie, like, profusely apologizes for the tweets, and they become friends. You know, Jessi forgave her, said, you know, it's fine, you don't know the situation, we didn't know each other at the time, we can be friends. Anyway, Then they stop being friends, and Gabbie Hanna goes on to, you know, continue her YouTube career, and then this starts getting brought up again. So, you know, people find the old tweets, people find all the stuff she said, and people start bringing it up to Gabbie, saying like, hold yourself accountable, apologize. And at that point, Gabbie Hanna starts saying these tweets don't exist. So I remember vividly how she did this video right after the article situation. She did a video basically apologizing to, I think it was like Trisha Paytas, Jessi Smiles, Alex James, and Beyonce, I think. And in that video, she says that the tweets don't exist. Like the stuff was not related to the Curtis and Jessi situation. It was completely different. And now people have brought up more proof to show that it did exist and that is what she was saying. So basically what Jessi is saying, that because she apologized for the tweets, right, that was fine. But then when people brought up the tweets, Gabbie Hanna basically said, no, those tweets don't exist. It's like she's almost taking back her apology, because she's saying like, no, this doesn't exist. She was like gaslighting, basically being like, no, I didn't tweet any of that stuff out, even though she already apologized to Jessi for those tweets. Now she's saying, no, those tweets don't exist. So basically she's like making a fool out of Jessi publicly after already apologizing to her, which is the part where the R word apologist comes in. So then we have obviously Gabbie Hanna saying all the issues that she has with Jessi, and Jessi is saying like, my issues with you is you constantly bringing up my traumatic event, taking back your apology, essentially lying to people about tweets existing / not existing. Your issues with me are subtweets. Like anytime Gabbie Hanna brought up an issue that she had with Jessi, it was, oh, she subtweeted me, she liked tweets about me. I think the two just don't compare. Then we have the messages between Gabbie Hanna and a 15-year-old on Twitter. So the 15-year-old was saying stuff about Gabbie, basically making allegations about Gabbie. Gabbie messages her, tries to clarify stuff, while also in the meantime talking about Jessi's mental health, talking about Jessi being broke, and essentially like begging Gabbie Hanna for a job, her medication, just stuff like that. And then she made the public apology. So, you know, she's also saying like, in between you making public apologies to me, you're still talking to people behind the scenes about me. She also says how basically everyone that knows Gabbie Hanna knows that she's very difficult to deal with privately, and that all of this like almost anger that Jessi has towards her comes out publicly because of stuff happening behind the scenes, and that we don't even know like the whole situation. It's like we know the tip of the iceberg. So people are like, oh, Jessi's overreacting. It's like you don't even know like the half of it happening behind the scenes. She also mentions how Gabbie Hanna had an issue with Jessi bringing her up in story times. She wouldn't mention her name, but like Gabbie Hanna would know that it's about her. When Gabbie Hanna did the same to Jessi, and also like they both have storytime channels, they know how this works, and how Gabbie Hanna also has an issue with people publicly talking about her, but she literally has a storytime channel. Well, she did. So she would use other people's stories for money, but then she has an issue with people talking about her for money, if that makes sense. That the article that Gabbie Hanna did with BuzzFeed was basically provoking everyone to speak out so that she would have more content against people. So she mentioned everyone that she's ever had an issue with in the article, hoping that one of them takes the bait and calls her out, and that she has a reason to film another video. That's literally what the BuzzFeed article was. That Jessi Smiles left Vine because of Curtis Laporte, and now no one's bringing up except for Gabbie Hanna. Like everyone has stopped bringing up this traumatic event except for Gabbie Hanna. Her old friend, old best friend, old roommate is the only one bringing this up still. She also mentions how Gabbie Hanna struggles to accept and understand the role that she plays in situations where she'll just like take a situation and be like, no, none of this is my fault, this is all everyone else's fault, they're all provoking me, they're all talking about me, and she never accepts even like 10% of the blame. Like, oh well, yes, they did this, but I also did this to cause this situation. Like, no, it's always other people, it's everyone else, it's all these tea channels, it's Joey Graceffa, it's Daniel Prada, it's everyone else, not me. Right? That's like Gabbie Hanna's whole thing. Then Gabbie Hanna mentions how Jessi Smiles deleted a lot of videos around the time that she posted her first Gabbie Hanna Exposed video because there was like missing views on Social Blade. And Jessi Smiles says, yes, I did, because some of my videos were really embarrassing. Some of these story times are not story times that I was ever proud of. And that video got 6 million views, and she was like, there were a lot more eyes on my channel at that point. I was just embarrassed. So she deleted some videos. There's like no tea with that. It's just like embarrassment. Like I deleted some of my old videos because I was like, oh, like the moment my channel started blowing up, I just like privated some old stuff because I was like, ew. Like, that's embarrassing. It's like me doing like reaction videos and stuff. It was just like cringy. I was like, oh, this got to go. And how apparently Jessi Smiles mass unliked tweets on Twitter, which like I didn't know that even existed, and neither did Jessi. So, you know, you learn something new every day. Gabbie Hanna then accuses Jessi of threatening her with violence. And the violence was Gabbie Hanna and Jessi fell out over some stuff, and then they rekindled, and Jessi said, hey, do you want to go grab dinner together? And then they go to a party together, and Jessi's like, you know, going to this party, Gabbie Hanna's looking for Jessi. But in the meantime, Jessi found out that Gabbie Hanna actually wanted to film an exposed video on Jessi with Jessi's ex that Gabbie Hanna was also trying to sleep with after Jessi and him broke up. So Jessi's like, hey, can we go grab dinner now that we've like rekindled our friendship? And then someone tells her like, hey, Gabbie's been doing all of this shady stuff behind your back. Jessi gets drunk, Gabbie Hanna's looking for her, and Jessi sends Gabbie a voice note saying, be happy that I'm in an Uber because I would have punched you in the face. Essentially, that was the threat of violence. And Jessi says that it was like an immature thing to do, but she was really angry at the time. So, you know. Then she talks about how she calls everyone abusers. Me, Rachel Oates, T Channels, Jessi Smiles. Like, she calls everyone abusers. And she's like, that's a very strong word to just throw around. So Gabbie doesn't like when we throw allegations and accusations around, but she just throws these random, like, psychological terms around as if it's like just a fine thing. Then Gabbie Hanna says that there was this like pet peeves video that was apparently about Gabbie. So Jessi filmed like my worst pet peeves, and Gabbie's like, no, this was about me, even though she never said her name, and apparently it wasn't about Gabbie. So Gabbie almost thinks that like every piece of shade is about her, which that speaks more about Gabbie. If you're looking at someone talking negatively about an anonymous person, right, and you automatically assume that it's you every single time, then maybe like the shoe fits. Because if I was watching a video, right, and someone's like, oh my god, like the rudest, most awful person in the world, I had like the worst experience of my life, and if like I assume that was me every single time, then maybe the shoe fits and maybe I am an awful person, you know? There was also stuff about Gabbie Hanna calling Jessi a slut to her ex-boyfriend. There was like emails about that as well, how like she admitted to doing that, and that whenever Jessi Smiles brought up the fact that Gabbie wanted to sleep with her ex, Gabbie Hanna was like, I didn't, but like I could have if I wanted to, and that's like something she keeps on bringing up almost as like a little trophy. It's really strange. Then we have a weird timeline of Gabbie Hanna being really nice to Jessi when she found out that she was married. And then she films a video trashing Jessi anonymously. Like, if that makes sense. Like, she didn't say Jessi's name, but the story was about Jessi. And then Jessi says that she'll have to defend herself, which then Gabbie Hanna calls blackmail. Like, Jessi said, if you don't delete this video because it's full of misinformation about me, I am going to have to defend myself. And Gabbie's like, that's blackmail. It's like, no, I'm just saying I'm going to have to defend myself because you're spreading lies about me. Then Gabbie Hanna says that Jessi was opportunistic about the phone call, so that she was like bringing up these emotional topics and crying and using that as an opportunity to trash on Gabbie Hanna more. Anyway, she calls it manipulation as well. I think that's just really gross. Then there's some contradictions about the interactions with Curtis. So she'll be like, it was a FaceTime call, then I called him, then he called me, and the Gabbie Hanna will be like, I asked him about the night, and then he asked me about the night, and it was just a bunch of contradictions. So like, the story hasn't been the same in the last 2 years at all. Like, the story just keeps on changing with Gabbie Hanna. Then we have the Alex James explanation. So Gabbie Hanna brings up how Alex James did the same stuff as Gabbie, but Jessi is friends with him and never like exposes him. So what we're saying is Gabbie Hanna like didn't believe Jessi, had interactions with Curtis. Same was with Alex. Alex like defended Curtis, moved in with him after the allegations came out. But Jessi says that to this day, Alex James apologizes to her like regularly. He feels really bad about it, has never publicly acted like it didn't exist. Always publicly, if someone brings it up, he's like, yeah, I did it, I messed up. Like, I was friends with Curtis and I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. Whereas Gabbie Hanna publicly tries to act like nothing happened to save face, which then makes Jessi look like the crazy one, like she's making up some like random rumors about Gabbie. So she's saying that's the difference. It's like one's tree apologetic and one just isn't. Then we have the Curtis blackmail, which is the only unofficial piece of information. We have some proof for it, but that's coming from Curtis, the liar and the criminal. So, you know. So apparently Curtis Lepore has a recording that he would blackmail Gabbie Hanna with, where Gabbie Hanna on the phone call says that she believes him and saying stuff like Jessi was like awful to deal with, so I'm not surprised that you would like hurt her and stuff like that. It was basically just like really disgusting things, trying to justify the stuff that he did to Jessi, basically saying that she believes him. Now, Gabbie claims that he cut it up to look like she's saying, I believe you. The example that Gabbie used was if she would say, I believe you didn't mean to hurt Jessi, and he would cut out and make it sound like she was saying, I believe you. But even saying, I believe you wouldn't try to hurt Jessi while also actively committing a crime. Like, that in itself is a red flag, Gabbie. So this apparently exists. Curtis says it exists, but no one has seen this like blackmail piece of video. So it's an unofficial piece of information. Anyway, so now that we've clarified Jessi's video and Gabbie's video, and also me saying that the whole article was the whole article and not just a piece of article, I'm hoping we have clarified everything. So until further notice, that is all I have on Gabbie Hanna. Also, she did post on Patreon this like mouth with like the gun pointing out, almost saying that she's gonna like fire some shots or something, but she hasn't posted her series in a while. She usually posts it every day at the same time. Since Jessi posted her video, she hasn't posted anything, so I don't know if that's the end of the series or if she's got like some extra spontaneous stuff that she's gonna do. Anyway, but that's it. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, anything to comment down below, and subscribe to post videos every time something happens. So hit that bell to notify when that's happening. Social media links and the links in the description. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.